Okay, welcome to a new episode of Nate's Corner. Show about anything and everything, um, but MMA, which is reserved for Nate's MMA Corner, as I always say at the beginning of these episodes. Um, today's episode is my review of um, the Rammstein show at in Minneapolis at the U.S. Bank Stadium on the stadium tour of 2022. And man, I was so excited for this concert. I'm a diehard Rammstein fan. This was my sixth time seeing them in concert, and I have all their studio albums and their live albums and their greatest hits album. Um, I'm going to cover the set list, talk about the performances, what happened, and yeah, let's get started. So, this was the second show on this leg of the tour in North America for North America, part of the stadium tour, because they've done the stadium tour in Europe and other parts of the world. The first show was in Montreal, Canada. This was the first one in United States soil. This was I glanced at the Montreal set list, but I didn't want to take too much note about it because I wanted some surprise when I saw the show and didn't want to know, okay, this song's coming up next and that song's coming up next, and they're going to start off with this and that. So there's going to be some spoilers for the concert in case they don't change the set list, so just to give you a heads up. And yeah, they kick off the show with Army der Tristan. Hopefully, I didn't butcher that name. My German sucks. Uh, and can never get the accents right. Anyways, yeah, that's one of the songs off the new album, and it's the first track off the new album. So I thought that was a good kicker offer, and it's not a single, at least not at the moment. And I thought it was cool that they did a deep cut. I know it's off the latest album, so they got to promote the latest album. So we'll see how long this song lasts in future tours. But it sounded great live. It was a nice kicker offer. Then they got into Zigzag. Oh, by the way, the opening act was these two French girls playing piano, and they're doing Rammstein covers, but piano versions of those songs, and they did a pretty good job. Then they played for about 30 minutes, and the Rammstein show was over 2 hours. Clocks in at over 2 hours. They do two encores, and yeah, they do Zigzag as their second song, and great song to get the crowd pumping. Then they get into, I guess you could call it a quote unquote classic, because they're all classics in my mind. But the classic, according to, I guess we'll say the casuals, Links 2, 3, 4. Then they get into Zainzuk, which that's always fun live. Then Zeig dich, that is a fun song, and I'm just trying to tally up in my head. Let's see here. Let's see. Let's see here. Just want to check something out. Yeah, so then they get into a song from self-titled Zeig dich. That was interesting. Then good performance. Then they do Mein Herz brennt, another classic, as you want to say. It's been played in movie trailers. Sounded great live. Puppe off of self-titled as well. That that was interesting, and interesting performance. They kind of prolonged the song for the live version, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Then they go into old school first album track, Hairo Tamish. Hopefully, I didn't butcher that one. So that's a deep cut right there because that song wasn't a single off of Herzlide. The thing is, though, like Rammstein, Durisugut, um, and Ashazu Asha and Simon, those are the ones you expect them to do off Herzlide. So when they did that, I was like, wow, we're getting a deep cut here. Then they do Zeit, which obviously it's a second single off the latest album and the title track. Sounded great live. Then Richard comes on this keyboard, does a Deutschland remix for the crowd, and then some of the band members dress up in suits, or guys in suits go in these neon suits and dance around on stage and look cool. Richard looked cool for his whole DJ look part of the gig. Then they get into the song, the regular track of Deutschland. It sounded amazing live. Then they do Radio, which is my favorite track off self-titled. Then they do Mind Tile. Now, interesting thing about the set list here. This was the only song they did off Rise Rise. I was not expecting them to only do one song off Rise Rise. And then they did 0 tracks off Rosenrot. I just noticed that when I was looking at the set list. I was like, wow, they didn't do Rosenrot, they didn't do Benzene, they didn't do Mon Gay Amon. None of the singles or a deep cut. That would have been interesting to see him maybe do a deep cut off of Rosenrot for a change. Then they do Host. The crowd freaks out. I always enjoy the overhead shots when they fire the rocket things. They've done that on like pretty much every other tour. Then Zona to close out the main set list. Sounds amazing live. Great finish for the main set list. Then interesting thing is normally when bands wrap up the set list and do an encore, it's like a minute or two wait. There was maybe a 5-minute wait for them to come back on stage and do the first encore, which is Engel, with the duo Abelard, I guess is the name of that opening act. So they go on piano and they're doing a piano version of Engel, and the band members are on microphones singing the song and humming the stuff and whistling and all that stuff. Sounded cool. It was a nice little twist on the song, and I like how they don't do the same routine on every tour, because a lot of rock bands or famous metal bands and all that stuff will do the same routine where it's like, oh yeah, we're always going to do Engel on every tour, and when we do Engel, it's going to be Till with the angel wings, with the flamethrowers on the tips. And so other famous rock and metal bands, I hope you're watching this, I hope you're listening, change things up. I mean, some bands, they're stuck in this same thing where it's like, why is this next tour unique? Why is the next tour going to be unique? If you're going to do the exact same set list the exact same way every single tour, then unless you're a diehard fan like I am and you don't mind seeing the exact same thing, then it can feel boring for a lot of people, I can imagine. This was definitely a nice twist on things. So then, after they do that on that performance on stage B, and that's another thing too. So in the past, when they've gone to the second stage, they'll hang out there for a while and do like a couple more songs. Interesting thing here is right after that, they left that stage. They go on the boats, which I was helping them get on. I filmed it on my YouTube. Check it out. I'll try to put a link in down below. But yeah, the band goes on the boats and they're crowd surfing back onto the main stage, and they do Auslander, and you know, sounded even better live than the studio version. And I love the studio version. As much as I love that song, it's probably my least favorite single out of the three singles off self-titled, but I still love that song. The music video is funny too. Then they do Dudery So Gut. Uh, that's always fun live. Then they end the first encore with Pussy, and Pussy uh, sounded fun live. I always like that little extension they add on the live version. It's yeah, that just really sets the live version apart from the studio version, and they kind of stretch out the song, and that's pretty much my all-time favorite Rammstein song, to be honest with you, despite Liebest for Alle Da being my least favorite Rammstein studio album. Then they, they wave to the crowd, go back on stage for the second encore. They do Rammstein live, and Till has the flamethrowers on his, back, and they're all shooting. I'm sure a lot of you seen the photos of that online. It looks amazing seeing it in person. They do Ishville. Then, interesting, the very last song on the whole show that they perform live is, okay, I'm probably going to butcher the song title, but Adio, I think I said it right. Anyways, that song, is, when they did that to close out the show, that, let's see here. Yeah, that is the last track on their latest studio album. And, it means farewell, a nice closeout to the show. And I appreciate the fact they did a deep cut. At least for the time being, it's not a single off the latest studio album. And, if I had to guess, they're probably done doing all the singles for this album, because they've already put out four singles. So maybe if they do a fifth, that could be a single, but who knows. Yeah, and just another thing to all the famous rock metal bands, if you're watching this video, take note on that, because I appreciate the fact that they could have easily just said, you know what, we're going to end the show on, some cliche hit song, and, yada, 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 and this and that. Instead, they do a deep cut. And it's a good song. And they wrap it up that way, and they add some flair to the performance to, almost signal to the crowd that, hey, this is our last song. We're going out with a bang. The fireworks were really going off there. And it's the set list was very impressive, in the sense that I was so happy and appreciative that they didn't just go, well, we're just gonna do every single track off, all the singles off every studio album, and then we'll call it a day. I found it insanely interesting and unpredictable in a good way, that they only did one song off Rise of Ryza, because they could easily just said, you know what, we'll do all the singles off Rise of Ryza, and it becomes predictable, and I don't want, I don't like, I want to be surprised on the tours. And if they did write all the singles off Rise of Ryza, great too. I'm gonna love that. But I like the fact that they did stuff kind of left field with the set list. Then yeah, after they're done on stage, there's a tape playing in the background for the crowd, piano version of Zona, and then Haifish remix, and then Onadish piano version, and then the audio just stops at that point. And then there's to kick off before the first song. There's a tape playing of music for the Royal Fireworks, and yeah, this you can see this on setlist.com or setlist.fm. Yeah, I'm looking at it, and this is what they did. So this website's accurate with what they did, and yeah, amazing show, and they prove that they can still deliver. They put on an amazing show. They shook things up with the stage production, with the set list, and I can't wait to see their next tour. This latest studio album, I think, is their best one since. Gee, I mean, I love all their albums, but I like this one more than the last three easily. And I'm honestly debating that maybe I like this song, or I mean this latest album, as much or more than Saints Look as well, and it could be possibly my third favorite Rammstein album, Mutter being number one, and then Herzlite being number two, and then this one possibly being number three. So that's pretty impressive right there for me, for the fact, because they've been around for so long. I didn't know what to expect when I first heard the new album, and when I heard it in the movie theaters, yeah, because they did a screening of it in movie theaters where they played it on a Dolby Atmos sound setup. Yeah, this was a phenomenal show. I highly recommend this stadium tour to any Rammstein fan. Don't miss this. Um, According to setlist.com, and they are accurate on this count. They do 5 songs off the self-titled album, 4 songs off Mutter, 4 off Zeit, 3 off Herzlite, 3 off Saintslick, only 1 off Liebest for Alada, which was Pussy, then 1 off Reise Reise, which was Mind Tile. Um, you know, yeah, this was very impressive. And then let's see what setlist.com. Oh yeah, so the opening act duo Abelard, they did a Zona cover, Mutter cover, Diamond cover, which I love. That's one of my favorite tracks off of self-titled. Meinherz Zeit, Frühling in Paris, um, Onadish, Deutschland, and Du Hast. And so they did 9 tracks, and they played for roughly 30 minutes or so. Great. The crowd didn't seem too responsive to their performance, I gotta be honest. I felt like at times I was the only one watching and appreciating their performance, but not to say that there weren't other people. But yeah, they were just amazing piano players and did a great job. Um, yeah, what also surprised me is there's no meet and greets. I recently joined the fan club, and I thought, well, maybe I'll get news of some sort of meet and greet I can be a part of, or um, enter to win or whatever, or pay extra money for the meet and greet and figure it out. Surprisingly, none was mentioned. But anyways, I have already got pictures with Flocka and Paul in the past on from the Greatest Hits tour, and that reminds me, I would say that this tour was as good as the Greatest Hits tour, and I think the Greatest Hits tour and this tour are their 2 best tours in their entire career. I mean, this show is that good, stage production wise, set list wise. I mean, they do 21 songs, and they cover a wide array of material, and yeah, it was just a really, really good show. And if you like the band, don't miss this show, this tour. Um, and oh, you know what? I'm just going out on a limb here, but they got the 3 shows Mexico City to wrap up the stadium tour on this leg, and I'm thinking that maybe I'm just being hopeful or optimistic here, but maybe they'll shoot a live concert, Blu-ray, DVD slash live album for that Mexico City send off on the stadium tour. I'm hoping we get that because the band did say they love being in Mexico and they appreciate the fans there and how they're huge in Mexico. And knowing the band's history, they've shot live concert videos from France and U.S. and Germany, and they haven't done Mexico yet. So I think that could be something they may be considering. Just throwing that out there, but we'll see. Only time will tell. I wouldn't mind seeing a live album off this tour. That would just be mesmerizing. Please, Rammstein, if you're watching this, do a live album slash Blu-ray DVD off this tour. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Until then, see ya.